Do you want to know what it takes to be a world champion? Do you want to understand more about Malinois? If so, join me on today's episode of Lifting All Ships to talk to the incomparable Mia Skogster, dual world champion and Malinois breeder and owner of numerous years, about her journey into IGP and how she views the breed. Hi, Mia. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Hi, Kamal. How are you? I'm
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, good. Because you were over in England recently. Unfortunately, I was working as well. So how did it go coming over to England again? Are you all set to move over?
It was wonderful. I think it was very nice time. Yes.
So no plans to move to England just yet, Mia.
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay. So obviously you messaged that today you've got a competition with one of your with Mahis. And is that that's obviously local to you? That's near where you are.
Yes, that is very nearby. I like the nearest city or village where we live now, and it's our first IGP1 trial, so a small
Oh,
one.
really? Oh, that's quite exciting, having a new young dog embarking on their career. So how's it going? Because he did his BH, was it a couple of weeks ago he did his BH?
Yeah, like maybe 4 weeks ago. Yes.
Okay. And how's it going with him? Well, are you pleased with his progression?
Um, yeah, I'm kind of pleased with his protection. I think we have a lot of things still to work in tracking and also in obedience,
Yeah.
but I hope we will make a nice result today.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
yeah, yeah, hopefully. So what have you done this morning? Have you done any of your phases yet?
No, actually, oh, look who comes here. This is Voitto. He likes to join us. So this goes really fine. We have been today just resting. So Mahis is not the most energetic dog, so I let him just rest today morning. And
Yeah, yeah.
also yesterday he was resting. I did only one send away,
Yeah.
and then yeah, then we are prepared for the.
Day to day, yeah, exactly. So for those of you that don't know you, well, they'd be under a rock if they didn't. Just tell us a little bit about your background. So and what you currently do. Just a very brief summary.
Oh, I'm really not good with brief summaries. I yeah, so I'm a professional dog trainer. I have trained dogs for IGP Sport. More than 20 years I have trained dogs. This year it comes like 30 years
Oh
when I got my
wow.
first dog, and I trained him to become a working champion, but in the searching dog trials. And after that dog, I have trained IGP with all of my dogs.
Mm.
I have won 2 times World Championship with 2 different dogs in IGP, and I think I would identify myself as an IGP competitor. So
Yeah.
that's my passion.
Yeah.
I love to train high driven dogs, and and yeah, I have also online coaching. I give seminars all around the world about obedience training, and this is basically what I'm doing.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. And obviously, you currently have two Malinois, don't you? You have Mahis and how do you pronounce
Voitto.
Voito?
Voitto, yes, Voitto.
I need to practice my Finnish a little bit more. So
I think it goes fine. Mahis and
Mahis,
Voitto.
Voito, how old is Mahis now?
Mahis is now 3 years old, and Voitto is now 10 months old.
Okay, and you bred them both, didn't you?
Yes, I bred them both. Basically, Voitto's mother is Mahis' sister.
Ah, yeah, and is it and Voito's father is Yanni's Rappi.
Yeah, yes, Repi is the father, and behind Repi there comes my former world champion dog Helge,
Yeah,
like a quite far behind though,
yeah, yeah.
and it's also that also Mahis like far behind him there comes also Helge. So I have been a little
Wow.
bit line breeding, but quite far
Yeah.
for him.
Really nice. So you've got that connection to Helgi all those years back. So how did you actually get into IGP? Because you didn't you start, was it a turf that you started with or a rough collie? I can't remember now.
Yeah, I started with the Tervuren,
That's right.
and I started first. I really wanted to do working dog trials with him, but there were not those things available. So, like these kind of groups, I could belong, and I could just join. So I started with agility with him.
Oh,
That was
did
the
you?
first sport. I competed only the first, the first class or something, and then I switched from agility to searching dog trials. And I also trained IGP with him, but he was from show lines,
Right.
so he didn't have that type of quick behavior
Yeah.
and hardness that he could make fantastic results in that sport. So we decided to focus on other sports where he could become working champion. And then, of course, my goal was very clear that I wanted to take my next dog who is very suitable for IGP, because that was the only sport you could compete internationally. I talk about working dog sports in
Yeah.
Finland. So the other ones what we have, they are national sports like searching,
Oh,
tracking, and so you can only go to Finnish championships, and then we also have possibility to compete in the Nordic championships, because in Sweden and Norway they have a little bit similar program, but not completely similar. And then IGP was the kind of one that if I want to compete internationally, then that is going to be the sport. That time we didn't have ring sports or something, some
wow.
sports like that available at
Wow.
all.
Mhm. So what made you then choose the Malinois then? Because obviously German Shepherds do IGP, very, very popular breed, Dobermans,
Yeah,
Rottweilers. What made you then gravitate to a Malinois?
I really really wanted to have a German Shepherd originally. Like that was my first breed choice if I could have chosen before I took Tervuren. But my parents didn't want to have a German Shepherd. And then when I was choosing my next IGP dog, I could have taken German Shepherd. But we had at a moment in Finland, or that moment, we had amazingly good Malinois. We got them from Belgium, from the Botua kennel. There
Yeah,
were two dogs called Qual and Sisley de Botua, and I saw their offspring, and they were really strong males, very dominant, but
yeah,
very focused, calm in the head, very confident, excellent grips. And I wanted to have a dog like this, so I wanted to have a dog from that combination originally. And
yeah,
then I ended up later having a dog. Like my first world champion dog was a male who was born from by his mother was from that combination.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And or have all your dogs that you've had come from Helgi? They haven't, because it's Inspis was related, wasn't he? Was he a son?
yeah, he was no, he was a grandson,
Grandson?
and Ratu was a son of Helge.
Yeah,
And I have tried also some other combinations. I have imported dogs from Europe, some males, some females, but I haven't been that satisfied for their character.
right, right.
So I think within Malinois we have very different types of dogs inside this breed,
Yes.
and different bloodlines, and they possess very different qualities.
Yeah,
And I think that those old Malinois, what we
yeah,
got from the Botua, like really long time ago, they were like a mix of German Shepherd
yeah,
and Malinois. They were
definitely.
not so typical
Yeah,
Malinois.
yeah,
We also had those more hectic type of dogs on those days, but they were very special. But when we combined them to another lines, of course, this specialty what they possessed,
yeah,
it went a bit more weaker kind of,
yeah, yeah,
and so it's something what I really love. That's my ideal type of dog, what
yeah,
they
yeah.
had, what they
Yeah,
were.
definitely. I'd say definitely those older. I mean, my first Malinois was from similar breeding. He was Dupotois, and he was a Turcados, a dog, a Dovatore. So that
Yeah.
old school breeding, and he was very like he was very as a dog around. He was very laid back. Like he wouldn't chase things, but he wouldn't. He just what he when you described Helgi and said Helgi never chased deer or anything, he couldn't be bothered. Strutt was very similar. But if you went in work, he was a different animal. You know, he loved the fight. You know, the more pressure that you put, he would rise. He loved that challenge. That's when you saw the real strength within the dog, and nothing phased him. I never saw that dog ever be concerned, worried, anything about anything in life. He just was so stable in his mind. And I agree. I think that comes from that old old breeding, to be truthful, really, Mia. You know?
Yeah, and that is a really, really, I think, amazing character and
Yeah,
personality that the dog can be so calm, so solid,
yeah,
like a rock solid,
yeah,
and then they still have that amazing fighting drive
yeah,
and desire to work, and they are energetic,
yeah,
but they just don't hustle like they are not hectic anyhow,
yeah,
and so
yeah.
very, and I think that is something what I would like to breed back or bring back to the Malinois we have nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. And you're quite obviously when you were in England, we spoke a lot about the breed, and I got to know you a little bit more or better. And what I found really interesting about you is that I'm not saying it's all IGP trainers, but I would say you're unusual, or not unusual, that's unfair, but you are an IGP competitor at World Championship level, but your dogs are very much part of your family. Like you've got obviously a young son, you've had children when you had Helgi and Ratty when they were young, you had young children, and your dogs have always been, you talk openly about how they were very much part of your family. You'd have your dogs around the children, and these are high level, high drive, very intense dogs. So just talk a little bit about that, because obviously at the moment IGP is under a lot of scrutiny from the public to say, is it what's the word, is it ethical to train dogs to bite, etc. But you've had multiple world champions, and they've been brought up literally with your children. So just talk to that a bit about how do you do that? How do you create that? How do you find that dogs, for want of a better term?
I think they get also when I'm breeding dogs.
Mhm.
So my dogs, they live inside my house.
Mhm.
Of course, like when they are 4 weeks old, I put them over the night to the
Yeah,
kennel,
yeah, yeah,
just to for everybody's convenience. But they get used to the normal life, and I think they are really, really nice family dogs as well if they are
mhm,
just trained and handled properly,
yeah,
and so they need exercising, they need training, they need rules, they need a
yeah,
purpose to their lives, but they are very calm in the house, they don't cause any mess here, they don't steal from the tables the food
yeah,
or something, and anybody can come. We have all the time and this has been always, I have 3 children, so we have had our children's friends just coming
yeah,
in. They don't even, our doorbell is like broken,
yeah.
so they don't even knock the
Open the
door or
door, they
something.
just
They just
walk
they just
in.
open the door and walk in and walk out and so on. And my dogs are used to this song from early beginning, and they do nothing. They are fine. But of course, it's different thing if they are, I would say, if there is nobody at home, and
Yeah,
then there would be somebody coming, I think they would protect the house. So
yeah,
just reminding to people that they cannot just walk in.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah, but in this way, life has been easy, but of course I have to set some rules. So
yeah,
it depends on each dog's character. I have
yeah,
found it very interesting that the more dominant, the more self-confident dog I have owned. When I had, for example, Inspis, who was a very, I would say he was a very special dog and not a suitable usually for a family life,
yeah.
because he was a very exception from all these 30 years. He's one of the only kind, and but he never was interested in children or protect. He never. I didn't have to really worry about him with the people who are like, who he clearly thought that are like under him. So
Wow.
he was only concerned about like if somebody tried to do to him something
He didn't
what
like.
he didn't like I have to go to veterinarian or
Yeah,
something, where there comes a little bit uncomfortable situations, or yeah, pain perhaps, because when we go to vet, then it's clear that there is something maybe
yeah,
painful in his leg
yeah,
or something, and they have
yeah.
to handle. But so with children he never. And then I had my most soft dog, who is Mahis. He's the
Right.
most the most handler soft dog. He would never ever in his life dream about rising against me, or so.
Wow.
He's
Yeah.
very humble, and he has been the dog that I have to be the most concerned with my kids.
Really?
And
Wow.
yes, and not like nowadays it's perfectly fine, but when he was 6 months old,
Mhm.
he went to lay between two rooms, just on the top of the threshold. And then he was there looking at, oh, mama is coming.
Yeah.
Hello,
Yeah.
Papa goes fine. And then when my young son, who was then, I think he was 4 years old or something. When he was coming, he was 6 years old then. And so when my son was coming, Mahis was like showing the teeth,
wow.
and he was like, he attacked a few times. It's like threatening him a bit. You don't walk here. No, you don't walk.
Wow.
And so he was guarding. He has been like guarding a little bit. He has very strong guard drive. I don't know how to say that, protection, defense drive. And so he guards the house, he guards his bed, he guards like this threshold. And of course I have and he didn't, of course, he was a puppy, he was 6 months only. And of course my child was 6 years then, and I have to correct him from this behavior and say, you will not start to be the house police, and this is not our like this world in our house is working. So I have to correct him a few times from this and set him clear rules and boundaries that, hey, then if you don't, you go here, that's your place. And then it went away, and nowadays he's perfectly fine. So he's not anymore caring about this or something, but that was just interesting that he picked up the weakest one of the family. And it was like, so I think there is this kind of hierarchy, which was very interesting, that, oh, he is higher than me, it's fine, but he is lower. And then when it has been so clear for my other dogs that they feel themselves so solid and confident, they don't need to do this. So I think it's somehow connected with a little bit with the insecurity.
You posted something really interesting on social media, which is the phrase, let me get this right, you have to train a Malinois with a silk glove but an iron fist. I think that's the way you phrased it. So what does that mean to you? Because when I look at you with your dogs, and obviously, I appreciate social media, you can create an impression, but you have a fantastic relationship with them. It's a real mutual adoration, in that you clearly adore them and they clearly adore you. But you also have really strong, powerful dogs. They're not like weak dogs. And, if anybody was looking, they would go, oh, little Mia, how can she cope? So how do you do that? Like, because you must have a way of establishing those rules and those boundaries, but you clearly do it in a way that the dogs understand it and they don't have any fear or concern about you. So obviously I'm a trainer that uses rewards and reinforcement, but I also have I have 12 dogs. So I have to have rules in my house of, this is how we behave, this is what we, where you have to be, etc., etc. So how do you do that with the type of dogs that you own then?
I think the most important thing is to develop a really clear communication and this emotional communication, that we are able to communicate with our dogs very clear way. And this comes from our body language, because the body language that my dogs can understand me so well, what I want, what I don't want. And it's not only verbal, of course, it's also about our praise voices, and we can switch how we talk and express different emotions. But I think the most important is the body language, that it's so clear to read me, and because we don't have any other language with dogs than the body language, basically what we are communicating. So when I'm pausing with, I will say, hey, stop doing this, and I freeze. So I really take my dog's attention. And then when I have this focus, I can say, yeah, super. Okay, so my dogs know immediately when they can go, when they are allowed to go free, when I release them completely. They know when they have to focus. They know how to focus on me, and they learn to understand me so easy way. And I think this is something that every person who buys a big dog, a powerful dog, they should really put effort by learning to communicate, and not thinking that they know it already, or I have trained horses, I know how to work with dogs. And that can help you if you have learned, because also with horses I'm sure that these kind of skills can be helpful. But generally, that people understand that this is the way. It's not about reinforcing that you give a sausage or ball when the dog does something right. You have to be able to get your dog inspired by learning from you, listening to you, and that comes from the body language. And this is something we have to focus, I think, and we should teach this more for every person. I mean, it would be really, really beneficial to every dog owner of the whole world, but especially the more impulsive, the more powerful dogs we have.
Yeah. And I don't know whether it's the same in Finland, but we're seeing more of that type of dog in pet domestic homes that aren't sports homes. So for whatever reason, when I first got my first Malinois 20 plus years ago, there was no working Malinois in this country. There was only 2 breeders of working line Malinois, and one person stopped because he switched over to Dutch herders, and the other person, which is the person I got my Malinois from, he was very controlled about, he would only sell males and he would only sell to people that did sports. He wouldn't sell the bitches because the reason being is that he didn't want them to be bred from indiscriminately. And I remember distinctly, because I originally wanted a female, he said, I won't sell a female. He said, because if these dogs get into the wrong hands, they'll be everywhere. And fast track now, 20 years, we see them. I always get tagged in posts saying, Malinois looking for a home, from a pet situation. So I think the thing that you've said about understanding what you're taking on, a Malinois is not for the faint-hearted, for want of a better expression. But what for me, the big challenging times is when they hit that adolescent age, like 10 months, 18 months, is when they become most challenging and difficult. How have you found that adolescence with your dogs, and how do you deal with it when they become a little bit more male, for want of a better expression?
It's interesting because, in my opinion, that's maybe easier age for them. Because they already have learned rules. So the hardest ones for me are when they are between 5 to 9 months old. Something like this, because then they already start to have a lot of energy, they start to react on things, but they don't still know how to lay down and wait. They still don't know how to walk next to me, because they are so young. And I haven't been chaining those exercises and connecting them to each other as a long chain yet. I think the first 1 year is the most important. If we would focus on building a good relationship, and my dogs know the recall command already when they come 10 months old, to this adolescence age. They know sit, they know wait. They know the down, they know the sit, they know how to wait. And I have already brought them to places, taught them how to react when we are walking. They know that they come to me, next to me, when we have other dogs passing by. So these kind of things are like already ready. And that age, I can also correct them and tell them, like, you can't, if they want to react, I say, don't do that. And then I can say, hey, we do the same thing, what we are used to do before. So this thing, that's what we are doing here. Oh yeah, the same, like always before. And so it's going very, I think, easy. When they come like 1 year. For me, it's like since that age, it comes like easier every day.
Oh,
the hardest part.
Oh, really? Yeah. For you, that's what you've noticed. And so, do you only ever have male dogs then, Mia? You don't ever have female dogs?
I have owned also females. I have kept them in my house until 1 year, giving them to somebody with the breeding rights and so on. So I have had and some females even longer. But I think I'm more male person, and it's also I would say that the males are, of course, stronger, more dominant. It's easier if you really, really, really want to reach like excellent in protection in the World Championships. We don't have even many males who really can do that, but then males are more sure choice to do it. You need to have a very special type of helper who can build a female so good. But generally females, and I'm even thinking that my ideal female is a little different than an ideal protection dog in the of course they're more powerful and so on, like they have more testosterone and so on when we think about the protection sports, the protection phase. So that's the reason why I have preferred males. And because I have males myself, I don't really like to have males and females, because they live in the house and then I would always need to take care of the heat and separate them and so on.
Yeah. So the 2 dogs you've got now are obviously related. So Mahis is the uncle of Voitu.
Voitto, yeah,
Voito.
Voitto, yes.
So what would you say was the traits that you like in that particular line? What traits do you like? What attributes?
Um, I like the solid character. I like this that they are calm. They are usually well focused. They are not. They are usually more how to say, very balanced dogs,
Mm.
but they also have strong defense drive, which is not even visible usually in the normal life because the more solid character they have, they don't
Mm.
have to show defensiveness.
Yeah.
But when you really threaten them, then they have that and they go forward. So I
Mhm.
like this one. I like their fighting spirit. They are usually like, they enjoy challenges. They are very confident. They don't feel pressure. They don't fight because of the stress. They fight because it's fun. So this is for me the most, I would say, the most important personality traits in these lines. But we like if I'm even comparing Mahis and Voitto, they
Mm.
are. I think Voitto possesses those personality traits. What I love. I
Mm.
really, really, really think that he is the kind of he would be my choice of breeding. Let's put it on that way,
Really?
and also my choice for competing, and my choice for like as a if I have to think about like which type of dog. Or he has got those personality traits more widely, and then Mahis is a little more hectic type of dog.
Yeah.
He's calm in the house, so no worries. But he is like I told you about this guarding
Yes.
defense,
Yeah. Yeah.
instinct or something. So he really reacts on noises. We live in the farmhouse,
Yeah.
but he is the kind of dog that if who always reacts on something, and also his fighting spirit is not that great. He is a bit more low energy dog,
Mm.
so I don't quite see him. His best part is the strong defense drive and going forward, but
Mm.
because of this fighting spirit, what he is lacking a little bit, um, it means that he can give up easier in
Okay.
obedience or in tracking or so, and it has been a bit more complicated to motivate him to work, and I'm not convinced if he is a dog for the high level sport,
Right.
but and I'm more convinced that Voitto is. So of
Really.
course, yeah. But also we have to remember that when I chose the puppies from Mahis litter,
Mm.
Mahis was the lowest driven dog
Yeah,
of
because
the
you
all
shared a video.
males.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
striking thing. You shared the video on the seminar that you did in England, and you showed
yeah.
Mahis and you showed his brother, and his
Mm-hmm.
brother was like really forward, interactive, playing with the ball, and Mahis literally on the video just looked at it and so what made you then go for Mahis and not the brother then?
Um, at that moment, I think that this other dog, he is really the most energetic and the best driven dog of the litter.
Mm.
But he had in that time, he had some, how to say, a little bit insecurities with strange people when they
Okay.
came. And this was not visible when he was 6 weeks.
Mm.
It was visible when he became 7 weeks old.
Mm.
And then there was another male who was very good biter and had a very confident character, but I already promised that puppy to go to another person, so I couldn't anymore say
Yeah.
that actually I will take him. And I didn't have a pup buyer for Mahis, so originally I wouldn't take either one of these puppies because I would like to wait for the dog who is very confident and a really good fighter. But at that time I was like, okay, because I have kids and everything, I
Yeah.
thought, okay, this other dog will become really good sport dog and
Yeah.
also really good police dog perhaps. But I just were thinking that this personality trait, that the dog is a little bit reserved and doesn't want to say hello to strangers, is something what would bother me. So
Right.
then I decided I'm keeping this other dog who is lazy, who doesn't play at
Yeah.
all, but
Yeah.
I can keep him because I'm the breeder, so I
Yeah.
can keep him, and then I have more time to search a new owner for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was also the time that I was needing a dog because I didn't have any dog at the moment. So I'm like, okay, I will keep him. I will look how far we can go.
Yeah.
He's maybe not the winner, but I will do my best.
Yeah. 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 Oh, interesting,
So
interesting. And then it's so far I mean he looks great on obviously what you've shared with him. I mean, I appreciate it's very different, isn't it? And this is something that you see all the time. It's very easy to create an impression of a trainer or a dog on social
Mm-hmm.
media, but the test is really those big competitions, isn't it? Really, you know. So
Yes.
what would you say is the difference about Voito then?
Voitto has much more energy. Voitto
Uh-huh.
has much more dominance. Voitto has much more solid character. He's always very confident.
Mhm.
Mahis gets easy worried
Right.
about me or anybody. Like if things go a little bit wrong, Mahis
Yeah.
is a dog that starts to worry about it. And Voitto is more like, oh, what then?
Oh yeah.
So there is much more hardness in Voitto than
Yeah.
in Mahis. Um, Resilience. And Voitto has, I think, I really, really love to train Voitto. So it gives me every time joy. I'm like, I'm so happy to go tracking with him. I'm so happy to go do obedience with
Yeah.
him because he's so natural talent and we fit really well together. And with Mahis, it's more like a challenge that
Right.
I have to think about how should I, he will teach me things, I have to learn. I have never trained before such a handler soft dog.
Wow.
So now it's a challenge for me a little bit to think about it because only if I'm thinking about, if I'm thinking about something
Yeah.
like looking
You
at him,
worried.
the tail goes down.
Oh.
So
Oh.
his tail is like, I'm worrying about this, that when we start to compete and there comes no reward and
Yeah.
he starts to learn that, oh, next comes the seat and then comes the down and then comes this and there comes no reward because he's a dog who is not really he doesn't really like to work. He
Mhm.
likes to play.
Right.
And Voito likes to work and he likes to play. But this is a difference that if you only like to play, but then the play is not happening. Because
Mhm.
in the competitions, you don't get your toy. And
Yeah.
it might happen that then he starts to think why she's silent, nobody talks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things take more longer time. So these kind of things can stress him. And the same is also with the tracking that because he has very low food drive,
Mhm.
as well, and the ball is not really interesting in him, that he doesn't want to fight. He just holds the ball or he likes to run, but
Yeah.
he never fights except in protection because there he really uses his defense drive.
Yeah.
But that is different. You cannot do that as a handler.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that is something that it has been very difficult to motivate him to work there because I cannot dig little helpers on
Yeah.
inside the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so these kind of things, and in the low arousal level, the tail is always like a little bit more flat, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I this is I think the biggest difference in these dogs.
Wow. Interesting.
Otherwise, they are lovely both, but
Interesting. And so would you say Voito was more like Helgi then? Was he
oh
more like
yeah, absolutely,
wow,
absolutely.
really?
Yes, yes. I think that Helge has been my best dog I ever had, and my epitome of of
The perfect
great
Malinois.
working dog.
Yeah.
Yes, how you call it? Yes, how do you say it?
The
Yes,
perfect Malinois for you.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then Voito, I think he is the first dog after Helge that is really presenting me the perfect Malinois. And so
Wow.
I'm super happy to, after all these years,
Yeah.
to get him. So that's
So
why he has these kind of specialties. He can climb here, my
yeah.
my chair, because
Yeah.
he's a little bit my favorite boy. So
Is it? So and how far back in Voito is Helgi then? How many quite a way back in the pedigree?
um well, Voitos I have to now count. So Voitos mother's uh so Voito's mother's mother, so Voito's grandmother
Yeah.
is a granddaughter of Helge from both sides. So,
Oh
or
wow.
no, from one side. Sorry,
Yeah.
wait. Now when I don't have the paper here, so his grandmother. mm so Raisa, no, his grandmother is a daughter of Helge,
Okay.
and also his grandfather, so the mother's father,
Yeah.
is a grandson of Helge. So it
Okay.
was 2, 3 line breeding for Helge,
Yeah.
from the mother side.
Mm.
And then also from his father side, I think it comes there in the 4th generation.
Oh, okay.
But there comes more, but also I would say that this Rendezvous, who is the mother's father, and completely different bloodline, but from old Belgian green sport line, from NVBG lines, he was very much like Helge.
Oh, a
So
similar.
very similar type of dog,
Yeah.
very similar type of dog. So I think it's it has been combining really nicely in this litter.
Yeah. So in terms of IGP, obviously that's the sport that you're most passionate about. Like all sports, there is good and bad. There's pros and there's cons. So recently at the FMBB, there was a little bit of controversy about the what happened. What would you say about anybody thinking about doing a sport and I suppose learning to take that as part of it, to be honest, because there's always gonna, no matter what sport that you do, there's always going to be times when you might not agree with the outcome.
Touching.
Yeah. So what was your take on that then, Mia?
Of course. So I think the most important for a single dog sport trainer or handler is to just, we need to have this inner passion to enjoy the daily training, to enjoy our own results, that we know that we are satisfied of our own work, of our dog. And we get so much joy out of that, that not one competition spoils everything. So that's, of course, one thing. So we can always choose to go different competitions. And in the end, the rule book will show us, not the rule book, the scorebook will show us how well we have been doing when we look the average of it. But of course, we should still fight against the unfairness, and we should unite people globally to say, because all these world organizations, even we talk about FCI, or we talk about FMBB or WSFAF, whatever it is, those boards, those commissions, they are chosen by us. So and we have the majority, we are the competitors. If we all agree that this was not fair, we want to do some changes, we want to more open discussions, we want to this and that, we should unite and go to those meetings and select somebody who we believe is better presenting us. So I believe that it's we have to do it democratically. If we have this majority, we should work for this and try to have ability to communicate with those board members and put a bit more pressure on them, talk with the commission members and do some changes that would make those competitions more fair. So that I think that the best victory is when you earn it. So it has to be so that that it doesn't matter who you are, which kennel your dog is coming from. You should be evaluated by your performance, not because of your gender or your nationality or whatever it can be. So this is how it should be. But then as a dog sport person, I think when it's good that we talk about it, but of course we just have to then focus on the future and say, okay, how can we change? Not like living too much in the past and in those miseries, what may have happened, those unfairnesses, and
So here's a question then. So for somebody that's been doing IGP for over 20 years, what would you want IGP to look like? What do you think is the ideal end outcome? What would you want to see IGP become?
I would love to see it become, of course, more popular. I would like it to become more accepted by bigger audience, so that we would have bigger competitions. We could get there, the local people coming there, like we have the markets. We have all kind of sport events locally where people just take their families to go to see. So it would be great to invite everybody to say, hey, come here, you can buy some candies, you can pet some dogs, you can see some shows there, and come to see our sport. And so that it would be more interesting to see, I would like there to be spectators, like in horse events, that they are explaining what's happening on the field and explain that, oh, now comes this competitor, and a little more like a show in that sense. But on the other way around, of course, I think it would be super important that we do not lie about our sports, that we say this is also a sport that is very deeply connected with the working dogs and the genetics. We are also breeding the dogs for military and for police. They are taking their dogs from the same combinations, and we need to take care that it's not going to come just a circus show either. So that it's important that we have judges and we have pressure on the protection phase, because they're really nice and good and strong working dogs. They love it. They love to challenge themselves, and they don't feel it as a pressure. So it should be kept on that way, and we should be able to explain this to politicians and able to explain it to normal people, that even there is a man with a stick and he hits the dog, for example, that has nothing to do with animal cruelty. That actually it's like a martial arts, and those dogs who are doing this, they will be tested for, by their genetics are tested by this, and they love it. And so, and another thing what we have to look is that we have like we talked before, the ideal type of dog, those old Belgian dogs we had many decades ago, and we still, lucky us, we still have some of them. So that police or military, they want very much the same dogs. They want to have dogs who are calm, who are focused, who are they are able to handle them, but when they go for the mission, they are very powerful. They don't want to have let's say, no matter how much I really appreciate, for example, border collies. I think they are amazing dogs for many sports, like for obedience, they are the best ones. They are for agility, the best ones. They are the best ones for herding, and they are real working dogs for herding, for sure. But then when we think about German Shepherds or Malinois and IGP, we know that you can pass the test with border collie. But border collie wouldn't be the dog who can do the excellent in protection and who would really enjoy of that in the World Championships when the pressure is high. And they wouldn't be the dog that the SWAT team chooses to be their attack dog either, because it's a different type of dog, what they want to have. And we try to test more dogs for this purpose. And so I think this is something that if we start to make our sport more that every single dog can pass it, then we also lose that special personality and character, what we want to keep.
We're training the breed. Like you say, it's an interesting time for IGP because there's a lot of discussion, which is good, and there's a lot of scrutiny from outside entities, which is, there's pros and cons to that. But it's interesting that somebody who's been as successful as you have, that you still are open to the possibility of the sport being improved and to gain more attention, because you're very committed to encouraging young people into IGP. So on all your seminars, you always have a certain amount of spaces for young people, and which are given out free, to try and encourage them through into the sport. So from your experience, what has IGP and dog sports given to you, bearing in mind, you started very young, you have been doing this for a long time? What has dog sports given to you then, would you say?
I would say it has given me the entire life. It has been wonderful sport. First of all, it has shown me that I have been able to meet amazing people. I have been able to travel around the world, seeing different cultures. This has been like a wonderful life. So also that I can even compete in different countries and travel there and meet and mix with people and dogs. It has been like wonderful. But then I think one thing also, if we really think, like when I really go deeply behind my teenage years when I started, I would say that it's not only like, how to say it, literally or something, but it really kept me out of the bad circles as well. So that is something that I haven't talked about publicly, but I could have ended up having a very different life as well.
Same.
So when I got my dog and I started to get very excited about training him, I think it was a really good hobby. And it's very healthy hobby. We are a lot of outdoors. We learn also active lifestyle. We learn to do sports because these dogs, they need to be exercised,
Yeah.
and it's very good for our general health. It's good for it's in so many ways a good hobby, and it's a bit shame that we don't. Or publicly, I have a feeling, maybe I'm wrong, but so that maybe the politicians don't understand it so well, that by offering sports fields and dog training fields for dog owners and encouraging young people to do this kind of sports, it's actually so good. It's good for their
Yeah, you
health,
know
it's good
something,
for their mental
it's
health.
interesting. Sorry, Mia, interrupting you, but it's
Yeah.
interesting you say that because I haven't ever discussed, I haven't talked about that part of my journey, being a young person, adolescent, growing up in a very rough area, and there was a lot of opportunities for me to do things that probably would have led down a different path. And exactly the same as you, it was my dog training and my dogs and my competing that really kept me in and directed my life, and I'm so eternally grateful. It's really interesting hearing you say that because I don't think I've ever heard you talk about that part of why you feel so passionate about bringing young people into dog sports. And maybe that's the answer, Mia. Maybe we should talk about it more and be more
Mm-hmm.
vocal about our journey so that people can see what is possible. I mean, you and I have been very lucky in that we've traveled the world and, literally gone to all these different incredible places from training dogs. It's absolutely mad. When you think back to 30 years ago when we started, you couldn't imagine where it's incredible, isn't it? It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I could have never imagined my life being like this. I just was so passionate about, so
Yeah.
I just did it because of my passion. But I could never imagine how my life would become. And those times, they said that dog training cannot become a
A
profession.
job. Yeah, yeah,
It cannot be a job. It's like useless. It's just like it's a little bit like, yeah, you just like to play with animals, but
yeah.
it's like not very good or something. And I think one very, very important thing what we remember in this sport is that not only that as a young person you meet other young people who are also passionate about the sport, and you meet them, and that you can share your thoughts and your life, but it also offers you the really good bridge to connect with different age groups of people. So you learn to actually
Good
you
skill.
kind of so
Yeah.
kind of that also very special, that you learn to work with young people, but also with a bit of middle age, and your parents age group or something, and even your grandparents age group. And so you kind of meet and mix with very different type of people with different kind of backgrounds. And this is a sport that your profession doesn't matter. So we have also people from very, very different backgrounds, very
Yeah.
different professions doing this sport. So you have a very good ability to connect with lots of different kinds of people and learning different perspectives for the life. And this also helps young people because they don't get, I don't know the word in English, but that keeps them also like, how to say, we have a word in Finnish which would call syrjäytyminen, but it means that you will not be like I really, really, I have to maybe Google that word because I'm so
Let's see what the word is. I'm more
English.
intrigued now about what the word is.
Yeah, it's like social exclusion. Does it
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah.
That that some people, maybe if they wouldn't have found at that moment like so many friends or something, but in this way they learn to like stay socially connected with.
Absolutely. I think that definitely that's something that a lot of people in dogs can relate to. For me, definitely, it was somewhere where I felt I belonged there. I was always welcomed. It didn't matter about what I looked like. It just mattered about my dog. The other thing it definitely taught me was it taught me discipline. Like I had to walk the dog, I had to groom the dog. It taught me that. It taught me responsibility. It taught me
Mhm.
about what passion can do in your life. And it's interesting you said the word passion. For me, that's the thing, like as a parent as well. I you want for your children to have something that they're passionate about because that
Yeah.
passion will be the fuel and that will drive them in their life. I you desperately want your children to have, and I'm very lucky and you're very lucky, we have something that we're so passionate about, and it just changes your whole life, doesn't it, Mia? It's incredible. But
Yes.
I mean, I'm bearing in mind that I know that you're pressured for time, and I think that's a really nice place to bring things to a close. The thing, obviously, that definitely jumps out to me when I see you work. I see you with trained dogs, and I see you with your own dogs. It's how much passion you have for just your dogs and the training. And when I watched you train other people's dogs, you naturally had this affinity with them, and even dogs that you'd never met before. And to me, that's such a unique gift that you have. And it's so inspiring to watch you train. It's been a great pleasure having this conversation. Hopefully we can do another one in the future with a little bit more time. But thank you very much for your time with me. I really do appreciate it. I know that you're very busy. So you mentioned at the beginning of the talk that you have online access. So I mean, I will share that in the details, but just
Yeah.
quickly to end, how can people reach out to you?
Well, they can find me from Instagram, from Facebook, just by Googling my name. And just my website is basically like miaskogster.com, and they can find there my courses. And when we talk about this emotional communication and these skills, how to gain this kind of deep connection with dogs, this is also something what I have tried to make just like a special course exactly for
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
because I noticed that this is something that is um, it's hard to explain that or tell that even in the seminars,
yeah,
or when we are just solving some problems from different dog owners,
yeah.
whether they are competitive dog sport people or just family dog owners. But these kind of skills, I think that as a dog trainer, that would be like one of my goal, that I would love to inspire people to learn to communicate with their dogs better. And that is one of the courses like I try to do like in the end of the summer, what we are doing there. But yeah, but this is something what I
I have to say,
find
I
very
mean,
interesting.
I have to say just before we close is that's what I think you did brilliantly well, both in your book and also in the seminar, was you put into words and you gave people a system to teach them how to connect with their dogs, and you use your praise voices and your different personas to do that. And I think you did that. Of all the people I've seen teach, you had a really great way of explaining it that was so simple for people to understand. Your witch voice, your potty voice, etc. It was so clear
Yes,
to people, and it made so much sense. So thank you for sharing that information. If anybody wants to
thank
check out
you.
stuff, go to Instagram, go to her website. She currently has a heel work course if you're interested in signing up for that. Obviously, a person that walks the walk and talks the talk, multiple world champion, and I have no doubt she'll have many more world champions to come. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully, you'll get your IGP one. I have a feeling that you're going to be fine, Mia, today.
Thank you, Kamal. Have a wonderful day as well.
Take care. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Lifting All Ships. If so, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Remember, a rising tide lifts all ships.